Hi, I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Casey.
Welcome to our farmstead, Cornucopia Orchards. So this is going to be a little bit of a job.
Yeah, a little bit.
We've got this whole back area, as you can see right now, is dead. And there's a reason that it's dead.
We had to spray 3 different times for poison oak. It never dies.
So this property is covered in poison oak. We've mentioned that before.
I guess we'll bring the spray count up to 4.
And obviously, like, kids have a certain period of immunity where they just don't get it very bad, but our kids have already started to show like little spotting from it. So we're trying to get it cleaned up so that they don't have to deal with that. So this area behind us is kind of our first flower bed or growing area and safe area, our first bed that we're going to try and get fixed up. It's up near our shop and our travel trailer. So it's right in the area where our kids would like to be playing, and we're constantly having to kind of just chase them around to try and keep them out of it for their sake. Which of course they're so young they don't really understand.
So we're looking at putting some fruit trees in because we found some really good deals on apple trees that was hard to pass up, but we don't have anywhere else to put them right now because we're not ready to put them in the orchard. So instead we're going to make a spot here for them. So there's going to be 3 or 4 apple trees in here. And then we're also going to plant one of these lovely Paulownia trees that get beautiful purple blossoms on them.
Kind of right around the corner is where the kids' tree house is going to be, up in the maple tree back there. So we just really want to make this a safe place as soon as possible. We're hopefully not super far away from having our utilities done, and then we can do a little bit of landscaping below the shop, between the shop and the house. And then that will give them somewhere else that they can also play.
Yeah, I think it'll be great.
Yeah. So obviously this area is baked. You can tell from looking at the dirt. So we've got a handful of things we have to do as prep.
Yeah. First goal is to get some mulch on there. So we'll clean it up, get branches and logs out, and then we'll start evening out the soil, using the tractor for part of that. And then we'll start pushing some nice thick mulch on there so that that gives the plant somewhere to actually grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And then right behind us, you can't see it, but we just built this little basic log wall and tied it off to some fence posts. It's an easy way for us to get a retaining wall through here, and it'll look rustic, I guess. And then that gives us a spot to put in landscaping fabric and kind of terminate the bed before it hits the parking pad we're standing on.
All right, well, we better get started then.
Yeah. I knew that there was one spot that was a little bit low, and I worried that it might be substantially low enough that it might cause a problem when we put the flooring in. Not that there's necessarily a whole lot that you can do, but there is some. However, I was pleasantly surprised to find that even that spot, where I had feared it might be off by as much as 1/4 of an inch, was only off by a 1/16. So across the entirety of the building, we have at most a variation of plus or minus a 1/16. So a total variation of 1/8 of an inch. That's totally acceptable. So I'm down here in the crawl space. We've obviously got the sheathing on overhead now. And before I can start layout, I need to make sure I have all of my hole downs that go, like that guy, up through the floor and then connect into the first floor walls through the floor. So I know exactly where the holes are going to be. You can move, you know, I have a little bit of room to wiggle around in. With some of these walls, it's like an inch, 2 inches, and all of these will work, but I have to lay out my walls very carefully to accommodate for where exactly the hold down bolts got put. So here we are on the last one, and you can kind of see what we're working with here. So here is an anchor bolt back here, and here's my drill. Got a little level, and what I'm trying to do is just to get these relatively vertical, or at least on the same slope as what the angle actually is, and then just get that within the right space on the wall, so they should be close to the middle of the 2x6 as you can realistically get it. All I do is I just get my drill back up in here, and it doesn't quite fit, so I have to start at an angle. See if I don't drop my phone here. Kind of get it to go in a little bit, and then I can take it and straighten it out towards the bolt a little bit better as I go. Not 100%. And that is a lot of fun. And here's what we have on the floor above. So you can see I've kind of laid out the rough of a wall right through here, and those holes are kind of marking off roughly where those bolts are coming up. That one is a bit of a concern. It's fairly close to the edge. I may have to drill a little bit more of a hole onto the side of it and then just really ream on that bolt. And one thing you'll note with this corner, that 5/8, is that I had marked off that there'd be a wall starting on this line coming this way, and that wall, this edge wall that includes the 2 7/8 bolts, would start here and come this way, and then the 5 7/8 bolts would go that way. I'm not going to be able to do that. You can see where he's got that that bolt. I can't move that far because it's only about 8 inches down. So what I'm going to have to do is take this wall and run it all the way out, and then I should be able to get 2, it might take 3 2x6s into here, and that will let me attach this hole down. It's about that big to that corner. It shouldn't cause a problem given that it's not a shear wall, to put the 2x6s like that in the corner there. Plus that post right there, it's got all my stuff around it. You can see, boom, is a support for a covered deck area. In this corner of the structure is going to be a little covered porch. And when we take this up to height towards the top, those 2 or 3 2x6s will be supporting a 4x12 that comes across as a header and ties into that post. So it works out just fine that they're oriented that direction, but it'll probably take 3. We are starting our layout for this wall at the detail stage. What we're going to do is I'm going to pull this, put our first 16 on center for this wall, and then I'm going to go ahead and run a nail in at that location and pull off of the nail, and that should give us a much more accurate for this exterior sheathing. Now, your next question is going to be, if you're running these as on centers, how are you marking? If you have people helping you, how are they going to know where exactly the stud goes. You know, they might think that you mean that the stud goes here to here or here to here instead of centered. So there are common conventions for marking out what your studs are going to look like. The one that I'm going with is I'm just going to come along and give a quick mark for myself. You can make it a line, or in my case, I'm going to just make it an X. And then I'm going to go 3/4 of an inch this way and 3/4 of an inch this way. So it's going to be 15 1/4 and 16 3/4. So this is not something you can do and have be what they call production speed. So if I were a professional framer, I'm not. I'm DIY. I have people who are not professional framers helping me. And just in case one of them is the one who comes to this wall, I want there to be no question what everything is. So for me, an X is a stud, a C is a cripple, a K is a king, a J is a jack, all of them very clear, and I will review them with my helpers when they come and help me. If, you know, there's a day where I need them to be assembling the wall instead of just being cut station or whatever. And then that also makes it to where when I come back to it, I know exactly what everything is. So that's my nomenclature. It's not dissimilar to what the professionals use, but I'm also then going to come back through and then just give a mark to both sides. A lot of pros would consider that to be a waste of time, and if you're professional, then probably it is. I'm not. So when you go to frame your window, you need to understand that the salesman that you are buying the window from, they can take your measurements one of two ways. So if you tell them that this is let's say a 30-inch by 5-foot window, they can either assume that you mean that that is the rough opening, in which case they will order a 1/2 inch less than all those dimensions, or they can assume that you want a 30-inch by 5-foot window exactly. You need to know which one they're going to do before you frame that window. So, little story. On the last house that we remodeled, I ordered about $5,000 worth of windows, which is several years back, so it gets you more than it gets you now. And all but one of those windows, when they arrived, were too tight. And I had to, specifically vertically, there was extra room on the width by a little teeny tiny amount, and I didn't really have to do a whole lot there. But vertically, on multiple windows, I had to buzz the sill with a router in order to be able to fit the window in. And the reason that happened is because when I went and I talked to the salesman and I told him these are my dimensions, I distinctly remember having a conversation with him about, what are you ordering? And he said, I'm ordering, your sizes. I'm going to order for the rough opening. And I said, okay, I'm giving you rough openings to make sure all of these windows will be smaller than what I've measured. Correct. Good. Because the framing's already there. Salesman orders windows, they arrive all the wrong size. So when you go to order, just make sure that you and your salesman have the same understanding of what they're supposed to order. Give them the dimensions, go over the list with them if you have time, if they're able to do it in the moment, and if not, then just say, hey, I need to see that you put down a note. If you're going to build this list after I leave, put down a note so that I know that you're going to order the right way. So the other day we tossed the real quick and easy guardrails up, and if a grown man charges one of these, they're not going to stop him. And they're not really meant to be that way, so they only have to last us for a very short period of time, but they will stop you if you bump into them or anything short of like really putting a ton of pressure. And what we did was we took 2x material and we put in multiple screws going up and down into studs in our foundation crawl space walls, and then we attached with multiple screws our uprights that are supporting the rail on the outside of that.
You may be wondering about the cost of chipping ourselves. Is it worth it instead of just having a load brought in?
As we were clearing brush and thinning trees, we were going to have to either chip the branches or burn them, so it wasn't a hard decision for us.
But as it turns out, it is cost effective.
We rented a Vermeer BC1000 chipper, which was more than a match for anything we were running through it. It cost us $2.50 a day, and we did pick it up from town and bring it back, but managed to combine the trip with things we already needed to do.
We spent probably 6 or 7 hours chipping, so that is 2 people working that time. But it would have taken one person that same amount of time to burn it, so we might have been in $100 worth of labor and about $50 worth of fuel.
Yeah. We called around, and at today's prices, a 10-yard truck delivered would be about $400 or $500, depending on exactly what kind of chip we're talking about. We produced about 15 yards worth of chip, however.
So it definitely mathed for us to rent a chipper and produce as much chip as we could in a day, and we'll likely do it again one more time this year. Yard work.
Help you.
Huh?
Help you.
Of course you can help. You have your mongoose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can follow.
So we are digging some holes here to get our 4 apple trees and 1 Paulownia that's going into this new bed we just made planted. And these are all bare root as of this spring, except for the Paulownia. And so really we just need a relatively narrow hole. We dug a 9-inch wide auger hole with a tractor, and that gives us a starting point. And all of the bare root trees like this one is a pink lady, and it's going to be just fine with that narrow space.
Go, Damien, go back.
And then other ones we got over here, we got a golden Dorset, we got a Liberty, and one other. Let's see if I can remember what this guy is. Yellow Delicious. So some good choices for these apples to come in here.
Yes, you can do that one over there.
So as we suspected, a lot of what was in there soil-wise just came right out and wasn't really attached to the tree. So all this soil was just loose out of that amount. So now we're gonna get it stomped on, patted down. I don't think we need to stake it. We're gonna get it watered in, and then we'll kind of watch it. One of the things we are gonna need to do here is we're gonna need to plan deer protection. So we'll probably get some stakes and some wire, or at least some, some tall, like plastic wire, and get these protected just until they've been here long enough that the trees won't get destroyed by a random deer passing.
Yeah, I did a
Watch Damien. Good job, Claire. You want to let Damien have a turn?
Now do it.
Okay.
Right, step on two of it. So those and you
Yeah.
go down. If you want to do a big no.
Well, this is nice.
Yes, it is.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time. We've been waiting about 3 years to plant them.
We bought these trees at our last place, and you know, variety of circumstances as to why we didn't get them in the ground, but they came with us, and they're supposed to grow dramatically. And we actually have seen there's a variety in town that we've seen that grows. The people there at the house, they cut it every single year back to the ground, and it will grow 12 feet, like over the top of their house, 12, 14 feet. So we're really excited to get these in the ground and then see them start to, you know, achieve their full potential. They're gorgeous with these huge, showy, big leaves. And Paulownia is a tree that's probably best known for a variety, Paulownia tomentosa, which is invasive. But these are, I'm going to butcher the name, so apologies. Fortunae and Kawakami, I think is what they are. And they're non-invasive. They're a timber form and a spreading form like a maple tree. And we don't really know which ones are which anymore. It's been 3 years.
So don't be surprised.
One of them has a green tag, so we know that, you know, we have about roughly half of each of them. I just don't know what the green tag means anymore. Maybe we'll try and find out. We're going to put one of them back behind us here, just to be kind of a statement tree as you come up the driveway over there, and then